Hello, and welcome to Hold Up, a movie podcast. Last time we were knee-deep in disaster, and our guest was smart enough to avoid the entire situation. But that's ancient history. Today, we have our hindsight trained on three fantastical entries, so far pasted, even memory is outlasted. We're moving forward while looking back, because tonight's theme is prehistory. I am your host, Davan Skelhorn, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Chris Worldmind Murphy.
Howdy do.
Or as I think I'm going to be calling him later on in the show, Chris Bubblegum Murphy. Or Chris Candy Corn Murphy. Or we'll see. I'm starting to fight already, but I know it's coming. All right. I don't know. How are you feeling today,
I think the
Murphy?
one you're looking for is Chris
Are we going at it today?
I mean, I don't know. We'll talk about that. We'll see how it is. I'll just
All right.
just point out.
I was getting in some early shots just in case.
Yeah, I could
getting
tell.
that jaw of yours
I'm
nice
just going to
and
point
tender.
out right now. We were supposed to watch
What?
Jurassic Park. I had a lovely cover
Yeah,
created
but-
here.
But we all know how great that
But
movie
because
is.
disasters happen and you have to pivot, we had Adam Woodward come
Very
in
well said.
and switch the cards up, and we watched an interesting, thought-provoking film, one that kind of aggravated me, and we'll talk about that. when it happens.
well,
Just for the
how's it
record,
going?
I'm first of all, this is the hottest podcast to be. Everybody wants to be on this podcast, so thanks for having me. But that was weeks ago, Chris. Weeks ago. It wasn't just like yesterday. I was going to say that pivot just didn't happen.
This is
well,
a quick
I mean-
pivot, he says. Just a quick pivot.
over
It's
it,
fair,
choice.
you know. It's fair. We
Get over it,
did
man.
have time.
It's prehistory.
And I have gotten over it. I have gotten over it. It is history.
Well, clearly
It's
not,
prehistory.
because you brought it up. Right
I just needed
as I said.
to emphasize that for those that watch our show and are understanding the continuity, because when we left them last, we told them we'd be watching Jurassic Park. and we
okay,
didn't
well, then
really
true. We even played the
folks
trailers.
looking for the dialogue on Jurassic, then you can blame Adam, because that's the way it is.
But I'm on Team Adam on this one. I think the one Adam chose is a way better choice because I would only pick Jurassic Park to ask the question: is it the best thing ever? And Murphy was just gonna tear it apart. So we'll save that for another day.
I have my issues with it. It wasn't the worst film, but I do have my issues with it, and we'll talk about it. That
Not
being
today. But today, here on Season 1, Episode 18 of our show, we're getting there in our 20-episode season. So, exciting times. And we've got an exciting second season in the works for you. I think, Adam, you're coming back in Season 2.
Oh, for sure. Well, we'll see how tonight goes. But yes,
Well, Adam, we have another segment on our show you may or may not know. Origin Stories. So, Adam, what's with you in movies?
oh my God. So, that's a great question. Okay, so here's the thing. Born in 1971, my first recollection of a movie experience.
You don't look a day over 1973.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're
my
welcome.
first movie going experience I recall was my mom taking me to Snow White and being absolutely terrified of the transformation from the witch to the old scary old witch.
Okay.
But I remember
Sleeping
that
Beauty was scary too. Scared the shit out of me.
Yeah. but being vividly terrified, but just loving the experience, at the time.
Mhm.
And then the next one I remember seeing again with my mom. My mom was my sort of intro into movies, was Star Wars.
Yes.
And my parents went. I don't know what night of the week it was. It was a summer, obviously. And then my mom said, "This is good enough. We can take them." And she took me the next day again, and again, just being blown away and mystified. And then, that sort of was the catalyst. And as soon as I could go to the movies on my own, I was walking to the mall, the Burlington Mall, and going into the old ramp style and saw, countless movies over time. Anyway, and actually, I think my biggest count that I remember seeing in the theater was Indiana Jones Raiders Lost Ark. I think we went 13 times in that time that it was playing.
Did you ever sneak in a pop?
For sure.
I got caught. Kicked out.
Yeah. And then fast forward years and years, because movies became such a big part of my life. I actually, when AMC movie theaters came to Canada in 1998, I was fortunate enough to be hired as the initial opening theater management team. So off we went down to Kansas City. I was trained for 3 months and lived down there, and then came up and opened a couple of theaters here, 5 of them over my time there. And I was promoted to general manager. And let me tell you, the best night of the week, bar none, was Saturday night at the movies. And
Better than Friday night?
Well, Friday night was just chasing kids. It was all teenage kids only. Saturday night was a different. Like everybody that works for a living doesn't want to go out on Friday. They're tired. Mm-hmm. Saturday became, between 6:30 and 9:30 or 10. That magic hour where people want to talk about the movies they see. They're excited to be there. And this is way before. This is 1998, 99, 20. So 4 years. But it was just more of an experience where people, and then again, they just wanted your opinion. They wanted to talk in the lobby. It was all about customer service. And it was fun to interact with the customers and in the theaters. And I just loved that time in my life. Anyway, so again, fast forward, it's just movies until COVID were, and going to them, guys. I'm not talking about the movie going experience. For me, to go to the theater, to sit with people, hear the buzz, I love it. I still love it today. I just, with COVID, unfortunately, we sort of lost that rhythm that we were, Callie and my wife and I were doing weekly almost, it seems. But where we have gone back and mostly for me, most recently in Barbie, just to be in a crowd that people are dressing up and excited and cheering with the movie and being part of it. You can't duplicate that at home. And then to be part of this tonight, guys, is for me really fun because I could talk about, as long as I've seen the movie, I could talk about it. And here we are. So
very well. Good origin story.
And if I could just mention one more thing, I don't know if you want to hear or not, but I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
QuestForFire, I was, again, 10. And then in the schoolyard, you always heard about the scenes that were, where there might be a bit of nakedness being shown.
Look, Ray Don Chong is very beautiful.
Yeah. But it was part of that discussion back then. I remember James Bond movies were talked about, but it was funny because it was just sort of a boyhood thing, where you talk about, and we could never go because they were, one level up to where we could go to these movies. Back then, it was
who wasn't a young, teenage young man in the library looking up the National Geographics because,
I think
not me, Murphy.
I wanted to know about ecology.
No, I was looking at National Geographic for sure. But for the animals.
Of course, and the plant life.
The lovely photos.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well said. And it's just a different experience now, I think. Because back in the day, it was such a different crowd, I feel. Like now there's so many movies playing at the same time, the crowds just all separate into their niches. Whereas back in the day, only one movie was playing and everybody went because it was what was playing. So you just had everybody there. You had old people.
The Megaplex really changed the world of that experience. I worked in it. It was fine, but what I miss is and actually Titanic was, I think, the last movie that was in that kind of mass movie, not mass movie, in the old ramp style theaters that just went on and on and played for 20 weeks before it, petered out. So you're right. It's a very different experience now. Not bad. I love the evolution to VIP seating. I love the evolution to comfortable seating. And it's very, a friend of mine was actually in, where the heck was he yesterday? He was in a small town in Manitoba, and he was seeing a movie, and he flipped me the photo of an old ramp style. And I said, "There's nothing like sharing a pop if you spill it at the back with everybody in the theater, as it trickled down."
Oh yeah, I've shared a few pops. You know what you made me think of too, and I don't think I've ever mentioned it on this show, but one of the best experiences and feelings is that rush of people after a movie where everybody's coming out and talking about it,
yeah.
And you're overhearing what everyone else is saying about it while you're saying your piece to the people you went to the movie with, and it's all just very exciting and it's a nice communal experience.
There's nothing like an opening weekend on a big picture that people are generally excited about, so there you go.
What up, Boss Hog?
Hey there, Boss Hog, Hossbog.
Yeah, no, I love that sort of shared experience. And also the impact of a movie that can have on you, one that'll make you like think. Like I don't know about you guys, but
Like
one
The
of the
Man
more
from Earth.
profound movies. Oh, man, okay, yes, but I was going to reference more Arrival, the film Arrival. I'm sure you guys have seen that.
I remember that one.
It's
Wasn't Charlie
I remember
Sheen in
seeing
that?
No,
No.
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 But yeah, I remember seeing that film.
Oh no, wait, the
and
newer one.
it-
The newer one. There was an
yeah,
old
yeah,
movie
the new
called
one with the like
Arrival.
egg-shaped like.
Yeah,
yeah.
okay, yeah. I saw it too.
Yeah.
Like
Um,
Hawkeye was in that one, right?
Yes,
yeah, exactly.
Jeremy Renner.
Hawkeye was
Yeah.
Jeremy Renner. So yeah, I saw that film, and it like warped my sort of perception on like time and all that stuff, and I thought about that film for a good 2.5 weeks, and I love a good movie experience. Like
In
that.
language. Like that one was
Yeah,
very
in
interesting with
language.
language as well.
Yeah.
Good
The
movie. I
concept
like
of language and being able to understand like all of time, and it's just like what a concept. Great film, one of my top favorites. But we should get into today's.
All right. Well, over at Theater One, we have Quest for Fire from 1981, starring Everett McGill, Ron Perlman. I forgot about that too, or maybe I never knew. Nicholas Cody and Ray Dawn Chong, daughter of Tommy Chong. Directed by Jean-Jacques Annaud.
Is she really the
Alright.
daughter of Tommy Chong?
Yeah, man.
Oh, I had no
She
idea.
was in. She starred in his movie Far Out Man.
Far out. Yeah, I remember that.
Far Out Man. Yeah, exactly.
Like when I was looking at my movie morsels for this,
Oh, hi.
it was pointed out that it was like this is Ron Perlman's first film ever. Oh, wee baby. Speaking of pre things,
Yeah, seriously. She's 3 weeks early. Hi, honey. I wasn't expecting you yet. But that's fine. You're very cute.
Oh, she's wide awake.
Oh, yes. Say hi to Murphy and Adam. And the Hold Up viewers. This is Ursula. She's very cute. Very small, very tiny. Look how tiny she is. She's
So
tiny.
cute.
so tiny.
I miss those
But yeah,
days.
this is like Ron Perlman's
man,
first film,
it's great.
and apparently they cast Ray Dong Chong because she was just completely comfortable with being naked, pretty much at all given.
Oh,
points
she
in
was a
time.
hippie girl, man. Like, she's Tommy Chong's daughter. Like, she was fine
well,
with that.
Yeah,
She was probably
now-
naked
now it makes
anyway.
a lot of sense.
Like, yeah.
I wonder if the casting of Ron Perlman had anything to do with his general face, his looks. 'Cause
He
fits-
looks
From my
like a
understanding,
caveman. Like a
Yeah, it's. I would say that would be the case because he didn't require as much makeup as the others.
What if he didn't want to be even an actor, and they're just like, "Hey, man, you look like a caveman. You want to be in this?"
He's
movie?"
walking down the
And he
road.
just, like, got the
Perfect.
bug. Yeah, exactly. You're the perfect for this movie we're trying to do. He was
Well,
just like
actually-
visiting France. Or
The-
whatever.
the-
Like,
the-
I think this
okay,
is
so
filmed
I'm
in
gonna
France.
crack into this one. Ron
And
Perlman actually
Canada.
expected the film to be no better than a campier prehistoric movies, and he wasn't very keen with the director for a while in their first meeting. But they ultimately like became friends.
Because he called him a caveman.
I mean, he just after seeing the film, he was like, "Oh, you weren't messing
Oh, how
around."
sweet.
But yeah, let's
right.
check out the
You
trailer.
got a poster
here.
there? You got a poster there, Murphy?
Oh yeah, I
we
showed
got a
that poster.
Here we
Yeah.
go. Yep, Quest for Fire. All right, fire up.
That's a really like when you look at that picture. That's a very
Yeah.
weak theater picture, like a theater poster. Like,
Yeah,
would you have that up? Too many words.
I would own that.
I
I love a good art poster,
It's-
and it's minimalist, but it gets the point across.
I do really like that top third.
I do too, Davin, and I think it's just wasted with not enough of it. You know.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, I agree with you. I probably wouldn't let it take up that much space on my wall for that much art.
Yeah, it's very. It doesn't tell you about this movie. You know, a science fantasy adventure, Quest for Fire. Okay, now, what does that
Yeah,
mean?
so, well, you know what? That's something I find really interesting about this movie before we hit the trailer, is it's essentially a precursor to, like, Walking with Dinosaurs and those types of, if you're familiar with those kind of, like, speculative documentaries and stuff. Like, they're a dime a dozen now, but this was, like, an early precursor to it where it actually still got, like, feature film treatment. So, very interesting kind of just piece of film history, this movie, because it's sort of like a standalone sort
Actually,
of
it'd be like, I mean, when you think that there's there's no dialogue in this movie, right?
Well, just grunts, and they say stuff, but it's just gibberish.
Yeah, but that's what I'm trying to say.
It's mostly gibberish.
It'd be interesting to know, like, if that's one of the first films that was ever released in like wide release that has no dialogue.
I wouldn't be surprised that with like how they do.
There was another one.
They give him dialogue, and then they just have to grunt it out. Like they're like, here's what.
Because I think I remember that
say.
being a big part of like the critique at the time, is saying people were saying is like there's nothing to this. But
apparently there's another film that has no dialogue, but I forgot to write down the name for that one. But yeah, let's check out this
from
trailer.
The silent era.
The dawn of civilization. Primitive. Dangerous. Exciting. Wet. And sloppy.
What is this?
Caveman.
What are you playing here, Murphy?
The
Is this
handwriting
one of your
is
tricks?
on the wall. If the human race is
What
ever
are we
going to
watching?
amount to anything,
This
it
is
needs a
1981, Caveman, starring Ringo Starr.
Oh my god.
That is
I
Ringo.
thought that looked like Ringo Starr.
It came out around the same time as Quest for
How
Fire.
about Gog?
Oh my god.
Gog is out of sight. And Atuk. Atuk sounds good. Atuk will be the leader of the Stone Age.
A toque?
It
You
was
ever
so
heard of the
ridiculous.
curse of a toque?
He will teach
Everyone
man
attached to a
walk
toque
erect.
dies.
He will discover fire. He will invent roast chicken. And fried eggs. Sunny
The
side up.
callback to Bridge of a River Kwai.
He will inspire the men. And zug zug the women.
Zug Zug, the
Zug
women.
Zug. Oh my god.
Yeah. Atuk, Zug Zug, Lana.
Hey, that's Barbara Bach. That's his wife.
He will protect them from all the beasts of the earth.
Shoot, shoot.
Ringo Starr, Barbara Bach, Dennis Quaid,
Oh my god.
Shelley
Oh
Long,
my god.
Shelley Long.
John Matuzak, Avery Schreiber, and Jack Gilford. Caveman.
Well, that's 3 minutes
They
I'll
don't
never get
call
back.
it the Stone Age for nothing.
Oh my.
I just needed to.
Wow.
I needed to rip
Thanks
you
for
guys
that,
a little.
Murphy.
I just needed a little ribbon. I saw that. I was like, I can't not share this.
2001, A Space Odyssey. Was
But here's the actual
astounding
trailer for the
epic
film we watched.
that
which is
aroused
Quest
a
for Fire.
generation, telling them where they might be headed. Now, 20th Century Fox presents a science fantasy adventure that will arouse this generation, telling us
I'm
where we
aroused.
might have begun.
Ah, that sweet title intro with the swirls.
Adam was just telling us how it aroused this generation.
The whole, like, openings. So much crazy shit happened. I kind of remember this film as a kid a little bit. Like, I came across it
Me
on
too. It used to
showcases.
play on A&E and stuff. Like, it used to play on
Yeah, and I
cable a
remember
lot.
bits and pieces, but I never actually sat down and watched it from beginning to end. And I'm like, this film needs to be watched by everybody alive.
It is actually surprisingly watchable. I haven't seen it for a decade.
Yeah. It,
Like, I was
well,
hooked from
yeah.
minute one.
Well, because it just feels real.
Yeah. Yeah, no, like, okay, there was a few points. I shouldn't say it no point, but, like, they did a really good job of being like, this is a legitimate thing.
Yeah, like our sciences are pretty, like the science is pretty tight for what they knew at the time. And a lot of that hasn't changed. And, like, well, let's get into it.
Yeah. So, the film, obviously, it opens up with the intro that 80,000 years ago, man's survival in a vast uncharted land depended on the possession of fire. And for those early humans, fire was an object of great mystery. And since no one had mastered its creation, fire had to be stolen from nature and had to be kept alive, sheltered from wind and rain, and guarded from rival tribes.
Okay, pause right there for a sec. See, that's the perfect premise for a movie already right there. It's just like the time in history when people knew how to use fire but didn't know how to create it. That's
It's
just
awesome.
such a fascinating time.
But can you guys think about this? Can you imagine having to protect a flame
for your life.
for your life? Like,
For your whole life.
If it rained and you didn't have it, like, you're just gonna freeze to death and die.
yeah, but it rains.
It
There's
rains.
all kinds of stuff happening out there, like, and you're going hunting, you're doing all this other stuff while still maintaining that flame. It's just crazy when you think about that premise. I think it's amazing. It's a great story.
The presence
Yeah, it's
of
a
mind
great
you'd have
setup.
to have, and just situational awareness, and it's amazing. All right. Continue,
Yeah.
Mary.
So the
Sorry.
fire was a symbol of power, and it means survival. And tribe possess fire, possess life, and that's all the setup you need. We get this awesome opening shot. There's just this vast, wondrous land, and this little blinking light, which turns out to be the fire.
So Chris, this was
Oolong
actually
tribe.
filmed in Canada and in Scotland, I read as well.
Canada, Scotland, and Kenya in preserved national parks.
I thought there
where,
looked like some
obviously there's-
savannah or something. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's all sort of pertaining to whom. So like the Ivaka tribe, which is the Tommy Chong's daughter's character.
They're reminiscent of like Homo erectus, whereas like
So
Ron Perlman's people are more like reminiscent of like Neanderthals or something like that.
well, actually, no. It's the gorilla Wagaboo tribe that ultimately breaks up this little fire pit and this group of Ulams that are just sleeping together in a pile. You get like these twins and stuff like that. So the gorilla like Wagaboo and the cannibal tribe that we ultimately come across with these guys, they're Neanderthal. These guys are sort of like they're supposed to be in like what's the term? Cro-Magnon,
Like a
I think it
Homo
is.
habilis?
Yeah,
Cro-Magnon, they say that, but Cro-Magnon I don't think is like a species designation or anything like that.
Yeah. So anyway, these ones are supposed to be in line with the Ivaka tribe characters that we see later. But yeah, so these guys basically you get their introduction to the whole lot. They're eating their food. You get this guy sharpening a stick and stuff, and ultimately these ugly motherfuckers come through. Well, this guy's what was it? What did they say in the trailer? Zugzugging, one of his tribe mates. Yeah, that's when the attack happens. And this whole opening scene was just like brutal and chaos and crazy and bloody, and like this scene where they drop rocks from the cliff. It was just very. I was just shocked, and I was pulled in, and from there I was just like, oh, what's gonna happen? This dude has this little like bone lantern with the fire that he's trying to keep protected. All of this is happening, and we sort of get introduced to Nao, who's played by Everett McGill, and through the brutality of it, he kind of emerges as the hero during the attack, protecting what he can, displaying his strength, and some of these gorilla-like Wagaboo. Although some of them sort of stick around. The ones that are alive, run for their lives from that tribe and the wolves themselves.
Yeah, the wolves chase them afterwards. It's like just a shitty day. It's like, all right, we got away from the attackers. Oh shit, the wolves are still chasing us.
Yeah, so they end up like running through this like whole swampy, not very smart area to survive, in my opinion, of all the places you could choose, but they go for like this shitty piece of land.
No, but
The twin
spoiler
brothers
alert,
die.
they never leave, other than the party, that small party that leaves. When they come back, everyone's still sitting there in the swamp. They've been there for like months. Like they just
So
never
this
left.
is where exactly they're holding this ember up, and it's freaking.
Oh, here's Ding Dong.
water
Yeah.
everywhere. Like, it's the worst place. Pick a little drier.
It's just like, why is that dum in charge of the flame? Because he proves in this movie he's not the guy. Oh, there he goes.
Well, there he goes.
It's like, oh no,
Yeah, he's
I
supposed
fell
to
in
be
the water,
firekeeper.
guys. Shit. It's like, why is everyone else walking in the shallow water and you, the firekeeper, is like fucking around in the deep water over there? Like, what is even happening
Yeah.
here? Like, they're lucky
the
they didn't
precious
like eat
firebone
that guy.
lantern was guarded by the firekeeper. It's just basically extinguished by the lantern. They do their best to try and like blow the fire back up. You know, they get it going, and you get this really intense scene of him just like blowing and watching the like ember go out, and he's just like, oh god.
Oh, they were trying. Yeah, man.
And they're all just sitting there freezing, and eventually this one like chick just picks up the bone lantern, puts it in front of him. It's like, you blew it out. You go get us more. He's like, all right, I guess we're gonna go get some more. And then there's like a small scuffle between some other guys in this group, and they wanted the lantern, but the old man's like, no, send them, and he gives it to them and sends them on their way. So they're on their way to find the fire known as Atra. We get basically Nao, who's played by Elliot, and then we get Amukar, who's played by Ron Perlman, and Ga, played by Namir Ali Kadi. These are the three that are on their quest for fire. Separated from the tribe, the trio embarks on perilous journeys across the land, and they encounter challenges and danger, including some treacherous saber-toothed kitties who are very, very hungry, which, like, I thought was funny because they're clearly, like, female lions with, like, dentures glued onto their face or something, but, like, it works. I'll take it. They chase them down up into a tree, and these guys have to spend, like, a night or two because they're trying to hide from the lions up into the basic point where one of them falls asleep and falls out of the tree, which was pretty funny. They're eating leaves and stuff. Like, they're doing their best.
It's amazing how they managed with no dialogue to really get a lot of humor into this.
Yeah, and also the tree they picked or was available. Like,
just the shittiest tree, man. Like, what are you guys thinking? All three
Look
of
at
you
that.
Kind of
like, it does not look like
there.
it can hold their weight.
They're lucky,
you know,
hell.
it's
a strong.
And ultimately,
hardwood.
it didn't though. It didn't though. Ultimately, the branch broke, and our main character fell down, but he climbed back up. They realized that the teeth are gone, so they head out on their way.
Yep.
This is where they start following some smoke signals, and they arrive a little too late to find fire. But they sort of see a tribe in the distance, I believe. Oh no, wait. Before we got to that, there was the whole scene where they see like a tribe of like deer, and they're just like drooling from the mouth and just like yum yum yum, and they're like stabbing at the air. I don't know if you remember that part. I was like, this is kind of hilarious.
Usually they're called a herd of deer, but whatever, go for it, Murphy.
Whatever. I'm trying to like whip it together here. But yeah, so these guys eat their eggs, and they came across that smoke trail, and I like this part where they think they find it. They're looking for fire, and they start rolling around in the ash. It's probably the warmest thing that they've been near for weeks.
Oh yeah, and it just reminds them of fire and makes them feel like they're close to their target.
Yeah.
Can you
Perlman
imagine
starts
directing
eating
you
some
guys in
meat.
that scene?
Roll around more.
They're like, all right, just get in that ash, boys. Like, get in it.
I want to see a cloud of ash come up. You know.
Yeah.
Oh man,
but yeah,
you'd be
Nao
firing that out
digs
of your
through.
nose for like all night afterwards. That's for sure.
Yeah, Naho digs through, and he finds, a skull in there, and that's when Ron Perlman's character realizes he's eating probably another human being or some type.
Yeah,
Spits it out, and they're all a little.
I like the
freaked out,
reaction
obviously.
though. Like they throw it all away and like, yeah, man.
Just,
This tribe is
horde.
totally not cannibals. They're not
But
having that at all.
that's interesting in itself, right there.
It
It's
is.
Like, where's the morality in not eating another whatever? It's interesting.
There was really no morality at the time.
Yeah, I
right?
mean, clearly that
But
developed
that's my
at some
point.
point
That's
in
my point.
humanity, and
Why would it
taboo.
bother them? Why would it bother them?
Well, I mean,
Like,
there was
at
there's
some point
notion
it had to become
that there
taboo.
was- Well, there was notion that there was sort of two genius of like ape that were evolving at the time.
Yes,
and one
yes.
of them was predominantly meat eating, and there was some that were just predominantly plant eating, and the ones that couldn't get plants or whatever ended up crossing over to like meat tribes and like having to mix it in with their diets. So like it could be like an offshoot of something like that. Like you just sort of like, you don't assume whatever meat I can get. You just kind of get the meat that you're, used to hunting, basically. But yeah. These guys ultimately follow the smoke trail, and this is where they come across the cannibalistic tribe, the Kazama tribe, who've, there's one guy sort of snooping around. I like this scene too because he's like sniffing around, and just sort of like holds open like the dead body like up in the air downwind from them because they grabbed like a dead carcass and they're holding the air. We also get notified that this is where they're captivated two tribeswomen. In this scene, they both have arms and they're both like tied up. But in the following day, you see this like this one shot, and I didn't get the screenshot of it, but it's just like this one woman who's hanging by one arm because her other arm is cut off and is currently being eaten upon.
Oh yeah.
By this guy. Yeah, and I was like, oh, that is grim. That is a grim sight and a grim mentality.
Just to sit there and watch
him
Buddy
eat your
arm.
Yeah. So yeah, at this point, now Amakor and Ga decide to set up like a little like distractionary trap plan. They distract all the Kazama tribe, and Nao goes for the fire stick, but he realizes he doesn't have one. He goes back for it, and then we get this big man comes through with this
dude,
big stick, and he goes for a swing, but he gets stuck in a rock, which I thought was hilarious.
Well, because he was trying to do a display first. He smacked it on the ground as a display, and it got stuck. It's like, haha,
so
sucker.
now it goes to the attack. They wrestle a bit, and that's when Buddy bites his junk. I'm assuming it's his junk that he bites.
Oh yeah, he's definitely biting his junk.
Yeah, he's going for the junk. Ultimately, the tribes girls escape. I think I don't know if she was able to get the other one free or what, but she definitely ran for it.
Not that we see.
Gets his fire stick. Yeah.
I think that other girl
gets his fire stick and
piece
extinguishes
by piece.
the other. Yeah. Now also crushed his head with that rock when he was biting down on him, and then he crushed his head with a rock, and I felt like that was a poor mistake. I felt like that's just adding more force upon the claws that are. Or the jaws,
it worked, didn't it?
I mean, yes, it definitely worked. It got him off.
Sure did.
So, these guys, they get their stick, they head back, and that's when they started encountering the escaped captive Aika, who's played by Ray Don Chong.
Ray Don Chong, yeah.
Yeah. A member of the Avaka
talented
tribe.
And lovely.
She's trying to, communicate that she wants to help, but these guys aren't having any of it. After a little bit, Ga and Amakor, they end up going to do some, foraging. That's the word I was looking for. And that's when Aika makes her move, and she tends to help Noah's with his wounds. And I remember this scene specifically as a kid, because I was just like, whoa, is she like blowing him? She was actually just like tending to his wounds. As context would, provide with all the green paste and stuff. But, this is basically their whole introduction. This ultimately starts leading to this tribe and Ivaka, these three guys getting together, and they start making their way. But before they leave, they're surrounded by the Kazama tribe. And this was leading to my favorite scene in the film. These guys are basically completely surrounded, and when they think they're about to die, these woolly mammoths come up from behind, and it keeps all the Kazama guys back, right? And they're like, whoa, right? Right, he was really lucky. So Noah has the idea to basically grab like a fistful of hay, and he offers it to the woolly mammoths. So wait, nope, that's the wrong one. Wait, did I? Yeah, there it is. Sorry. Complete submission. Please take this. Don't crush my head. Obviously, yeah. I like this scene because it shows that they can have camaraderie with animals, and they can be used to their advantage.
Well, yeah, the beginning of sort of animal husbandry and pets and keeping dogs. And...
Yeah. So, basically the woolly mammoths scare off the Kazama. Cool stuff. I was one of my favorite moments of the film, personally. Also, the fact that they're giant, basically circus elephants, and they're in, like, funny costumes. Like, what's not to love, right?
Pretty great. The way they made... Hey, they did really good for 1981. There's a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Just the look
fact
of some
that
of the tribes is questionable to me. Like, they're covered in way too much hair. Like, that's a bit strange.
I think they tried to cover a lot of the hair with,
bunch
like,
of
just having them wear
orangutans running around.
furs and stuff, right?
Yeah. But it's weird. Anyway.
Yeah,
Like
so
a fire
amid the
now.
flickering light of the campfire, that evening I had a palpable sexual tension that hangs in the air.
Quest over.
Armacore.
They have the fire. No, quest over. Move on. Next movie.
Quest over. Yeah, well, they have to return the fire. That's a part of the quest, right?
Ah, yes.
They got the fire, but, they got to bring it back to the tribe. But, as country boys do, they kind of get enamored by city girls. And, Ron Perlman makes an attempt at Aika. He wants to get the Zug on, but she's not for it. And ultimately, Noah makes his moves and swiftly asserts his dominance and engages with Aika. Ron Perlman's not too keen on that. They all start making their way back. Aika sees the mountains that lead to her home,
okay,
and
I'll
she's
bring it
pointing
up
at the
later.
guys.
There's a hilarious scene later.
Yeah. She brings it up to these guys that, this is the way home, but they kind of like leave it on deaf ears. And we get this pivotal moment that arises where Noah nearly stumbles upon the primitive technique.
Did we
of
just
flint
pass
knapping.
that? Was that the scene where like they were banging?
Okay, there's two scenes where they're banging. There's the first one where
there's one scene where they're banging where like the one
and she flips it around on him.
Goes and tries to like rub up on like Ron Perlman's leg, and he's just like, "No, man." Like,
Yeah, that was the second scene. That was a little later.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Yeah, that's later. But yeah, this scene is where Noah almost comes across the technique of flint knapping, that groundbreaking skill for creating sharp tools from stones. The progress is interrupted because of comical mishap, sort of a stone dislodged by Ga. It accidentally hits Amakor's head, and the sound of Aika's laughter is sort of an unfamiliar phenomenon to the men. It adds like this alien and somewhat unsettling dimension, and it becomes very silent and apparent that laughter is undiscovered luxury in their world. This scene was really cool. Like, they all just go like, what is she doing? Like, what is this laughing that you're doing? Like, they obviously don't know what laughing is.
Yeah, that was an interesting scene too.
Yeah, like, good stuff. So yeah, she ultimately wakes up and decides, screw this, I'm going back to my tribe. And the boys wake up to discover she's gone. They don't know what to think of it. They start heading back, but now it was kind of like, well, let's just say he's hooked on the snoo. So he wants to track her down, leaving the boys
Zug-zug.
high on a cliff. Zug, yeah, thank you. He's looking for the Zug. He's hooked on the Zug. He wants the Zug. He finds a spot where she was sleeping, and he gets all like sad and like sniffs the hay. These guys start going, but he's just like, nope, I'm going after her. And they're like, well, I guess we'll wait here. He finds this hut, which I thought was pretty cool. He like tries to spear it because he thought it was a big animal, and then just goes inside of it. And is like, what's happening? What is this thing? What? How did they do this? And he finds like a clay pot, and he's obviously on the trail of the Ivaka tribe. Those guys still chilling on the mountain, just like, what do we do? We got the fire. Do we leave them? But they don't. No, he finally finds the Ivaka tribe, and this is where he gets into his like quicksand, I'm stuck in the mud moment, and he's just like, help, anybody, and they start throwing rocks and stones and trying to kill the poor guy and start laughing at him and just making fun of him. They drag him out of the mud, plop him in the plant sand. Like, he starts getting introduced to this like whole like very advanced tribe. They've got stone weapons and huts and
Pottery,
fancy body art and pottery, and they're clay masters. And she's just watching as her boyfriend's getting laughed at and poked upon. You know, he's getting fed a king's meal, like more food than he's probably ever fed in his life, and they bring in one of their girls, one of the plumper girls, to, you know.
No wonder she wanted to go back to her tribe, though. Like, they're actually competent, and she's just, like, with a bunch of dumb idiots, and she's just like, you guys are just cold and starving all the time. You guys suck.
Yeah, come see how I live. Like I said, you know.
The rest of your tribe's still just sitting in the swamp waiting for you, like dum-dums. Like...
So this tribe, you know, they want to be entertained, so they bring in one of their plump girls, and Nao does zug zug. The old man whipping the stick in the air, like, come on now, come on, whip 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 whip, come on, get to it. I started cracking up. I thought that shit was hilarious. You know, sorry, I lost in myself.
He's distracted by the zug zug.
Yeah, the zug zug. I forget what her name is. Aika, right? Aika, you know, attempts to sneak in on Nao and, you know, get one cuddle session, but she's ultimately scared off by the elders, which sort of adds this sort of like she has no power in this tribe. She's only there because it's probably what she grew up in. So she's enamored by the wild man of Nao. They bring him down to a cave, and this is where he starts to learn the sweet drill technique of using wood, poop, and, you know, a little bit of kindling, and get that smoke and that fire. And this scene was pretty cool.
The notch too, like she carves a notch in the wood, which is very important because you need somewhere for the ash to collect to create an ember. Yeah. So she's got it down.
Yeah, these guys definitely know what they're doing, and Nao just sees magic happen before him and brings a tear to his Cro-Magnon eye. It was a great scene. You know, he's really found the fire now. He didn't just find fire; he found out how to make it.
He found the ability to make it. Yeah, he's just like, I am the best at quests for fire.
Of course, we get this great scene where Amakura and Ga are stuck in the mud, and he's holding up the bone lantern, just like, don't let it drown. It's all we have. Meanwhile, you've got Nao like hanging out in a camp, all painted up, becoming one of the locals. And he, you know, comes out and he starts laughing at these guys because they're covered in shit, and they're like, "What is he doing?" Like, Ron Perlman looks so apish here; it's wild. They really cast him perfectly. Yeah. But yeah, you know, at this point, these guys eventually decide to make a jailbreak. They grab the spears, they grab the boy, and they sneak out. And Aika follows them because she's super loyal to Nao. Then we get this like weird moment where everyone's just kind of chilling out, and Amakor drops a rock on Ga's head, and he like cuts him open, but they all just start laughing. And become
laughing. This is my favorite scene
too.
This is your favorite scene?
The rock?
Yeah.
They all learn to laugh?
They all learn to laugh.
He's just like bled open too.
Yeah.
Yeah, this leads to them having a bit of a shower, and this is obviously the second Zug Zug scene where, you know, she flips it around on him and shows him something, and those guys are kind of like watching from the side like, oh, well, you wanna? And they're like, no.
Well, see, that was a significant thing. See, I saw something about that in like a newer documentary about these types of things. So the way that documentary portrayed it was like there were people like Ron Perlman's people that just were like running around naked and wearing, you know, buckskins and things, but like eventually they came across more advanced people that painted themselves in mud and things because that protects you from the sun and the bugs and stuff. So it's just more thinking, like they like she is, and that eventually what like humans were just they weren't monogamous, and like what this is showing is like the beginning of monogamy, and what they think created that was when humans started to look at each other during sex, because before it was just like you know, doggy style. And so, and then, so she's showing, she's just like, no, here's how we do it, because now we're like monogamous, so we look at each other, you know what I mean? Yeah. And that created like this bond between people that didn't exist before.
So yeah, as their journey progresses, the group crosses paths with the Ulam rivals who had sort of challenged them earlier in their quest, in their quest for fire. Nao and Amakor strategize while Ga and Aika sort of stay back near a cave. This is basically where these two discover the cries of a bear cub on the inside. And the moment I saw
the
bear
last
cub,
thing you want to do. Is that a bear cub in that cave? Let's go look and see.
yeah, you hear cries and you're like, what's that sound? I was like, this is not good. This isn't going to lead to good things. And that's, of course, suddenly a massive brown bear emerges and starts
Mama
attacking
shows
Ga.
up.
Yeah, Aika runs
Mama's
for it.
here.
She's going to go get help. And these two have a nasty little struggle. Not on the like levels of that Leonardo DiCaprio film where he's like gets attacked by a bear, but you know.
No, this guy's better.
pretty
This
gnarly
guy
with this
friggin' holds up pretty good against the bear. Like, he's fighting this bear for a good while and not dying.
Yeah, he's
Like
doing his
Leo
best to
just
hold
lays
off.
down and takes it, but this guy's like scrapping the bear the entire time.
It's kind of what it probably would be like with Leo, not so much these guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
these guys,
the Leo
exactly.
one's more grounded in reality.
No, grounded in the time. These guys will fight anything likely. Like, they fight
Fair
saber-tooth
enough.
tigers
That's
and
fair.
shit.
That's fair. Yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, the group fights to save Ga, but obviously the rival clan sees the opportunity to sort of confront them, demanding the fire that they carry. And with equipped with the newfound stone-tipped spears and atlets.
Was that Ringo Starr?
It could have been.
Wrong movie.
Yeah, Amakor, Ga, and even Aika take swift and ruthless action against the Ulam rivals and decisively subduing them. And try, obviously, you know, they use those like cool spear things, like they throw the spear in the like stick. Like that was a pretty neat little like invention. I didn't know about those. Yeah, they like spear the hell out of these guys, kill them dead. Ultimately, these guys triumphantly return to.
See, they're still just
their-
sitting on that same little grassy island in the swamp. Like, how
Yeah.
stupid are these people? Don't
So,
go
yeah, they're
back to
trying to
them.
return to
Just
that
keep your
tribe.
fire and raid on Chong and start a new tribe.
And this is where we get Davan's favorite scene.
Yeah, give the fire back to the firekeeper.
Yeah. With the big old ding dong. He made the bone lantern. He gets to hold it. Surely
I
nothing
think the
will go
thing you
wrong.
would do is just immediately
Get out
start
of the
setting
water,
shit on
man.
fire. Yeah, start setting shit on fire. Like, uh-oh, Ding Dong's got it. Oh shit, that deep spot again. I forgot about that deep spot. He says. They're all just like, what?
What did you do?
Like, boo. Yeah, run. Exactly. They're going to eat you this time, buddy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that tribe
So-
becomes cannibal because they decided to eat freaking Firekeeper.
So, yeah, we get to this cutscene where everyone's chilling around the fire, and Na'o's sort of like, "It's all good, guys. Don't worry. I learned how to get a Bic lighter." So he starts doing the old wooden drill technique, but he doesn't quite get it. That's when Aika steps in, and she's like, "No, this is how you do it." She starts spinning that wood, really working it with her hands, and they get the fire. Ron Perlman, obviously,
You know, I've had quite enough of your innuendo, sir.
It was in some endos in this movie, and in the endo, we get Noah looking at the
Jesus.
moon, and
Jesus
Ike comes to
Murphy.
cuddle with. And there's you know that pregnant belly, the next generation, as they sit around the fire, and that's a quest for fire.
Yep, that's a quest for fire. All right. Well, that leads us to which performance would you hold up? Adam, why don't you go first? Kind of tough in this movie, but
Are you talking about the three actors or?
anyone in the movie. But yeah, I guess it'd be the main 3 or 4 actors.
I'll want to go with. Look, I don't know how skillful they needed really to be. I mean, as maybe because they didn't. They just had to act. I guess act the role, right? Beat people up, follow direction well. I'm sure. I mean, it would be interesting to know how many takes it took, but like I think that I would go with Ron Perlman, Rayon Chung for sure. She did a pretty good job because she's bridging sort of the two ages. I can go with that, and I did kind of buy her that she cared. The one thing I would say about this is that it like their steps up in the understanding of social relations, I guess, really happened quickly. And that wouldn't have happened in probably in real life. But anyway, it was good. I mean, but I would go with Ron Perlman. I always like him. It was interesting that it was. Did you say it was his first role?
Yeah, it was his first role.
Wow, he had a lot to say about the director at the beginning then. for being a new actor. Yeah, interesting.
He's always been an outspoken guy, so.
For me, I'll say Rayon Chung and Everett McGill. I thought he was quite good. But...
Yeah, I was gonna say Everett McGill and what was his name? Namir Elikadi, the guy that played Ga, who's like the thinner, smaller guy of the group.
The guy who fought the bear.
Where he fought the bear. He had really expressive faces. Like he just had these like hilarious scenes every time you were in. And it's just like yum yum. Yeah, and just like the drool just like coming from his face at that time was intense.
Yeah. Well, what do we think of the setting and aesthetic? I mean, it looked good. They went to 3 different countries to get some nice scenery. The scenery was beautiful. I mean, the elephants that looked
what
like
was budget on
were
this
pretty
back then?
good.
You guys know?
Murphy will have that in his morsels.
I
Well, speaking of which, let's just do that then. You got some morsels for us, I bet there, Murphy.
I certainly do. So the movie Morsels for QuestForFire in 1981. The opening shot was intended to be just a test shot and wound up in the opening scene because it turned out better than expected. The language used by the cavemen, which comprises all of the spoken dialogue, was created by Anthony Burgess. Burgess is best known as the author of the novel and film A Clockwork Orange from 1971, which I have a poster of back here. And the creator of the language Nadsat was used in it. Ron Perlman's film debut. Ron Perlman expected the film to be no better than campier prehistoric movies like 1 Million Years BC from 1966. In his memoir,
or Caveman from the very same year.
Or a caveman from the very same year. In his memoir, he confessed that this caused him to be unnecessarily rude to Jean-Jacques Annaud during their first meeting. Rather than take offense, Annaud was fascinated by Perlman's candor, and after initially hating each other in the early in the filming, the two would become close friends.
He's like,
everything.
Buddy Jean-Jacques, I turned down a role in Caveman for this. So.
It could be a good film.
Could have met Ringo Starr.
Everything in this film was shot live. There were no optical effects done in post-production, so it's all practical. Yeah, wow. Obviously. Some of the
for the time,
yeah. For the time. It's so
there were no
practical.
lasers to add later.
Yeah, it's so practical. In fact, the set designer caught anthrax when he handled untreated animal skins. Fun.
What?
Yeah.
That's a good morsel.
Rayon Chung was cast as Aika largely because she was completely comfortable with being nude between scenes. She remained nude on the set most of the time in full body makeup to stay in character. This is my favorite movie morsel. The Kazam tribe were played by wrestlers, and I got a list. They were played by wrestlers Adrian Street, William Giant Haystacks Calhoun, the Great Antonio,
Calhoun.
Hercule Gaston Hayon, he was actually a Canadian strongman, Jean Gagnon, and this one is for the ex-goons, George Booza.
No way, George Booza was there?
George Booza was in there.
He's not a wrestler.
Apparently he did some wrestling back in the day.
What? I gotta get
Yeah.
him on the show. Allison Seeley Smith says we need to get him on the show because he's got some crazy stories.
I would say yes. You could talk about this film. I'm not 100%, but I'm fairly certain he's the one that was sleeping in that like scene, like the sleeping cannibal with the bone through his nose, and the great Antonio is the dude that gets the stick lodged in the rock.
I'm gonna make that one of my X points on Tuesday. Thanks, Murphy.
No worries. The language of the Avanka tribe is derived from the Inuit and the Cree of the northern Canada. Their dialogue is actually unintelligible in terms of this film's storyline, but it was cool to sort of like see that combination. And the movie was
Unless you're Cree or Inuit from northern Canada, it's unintelligible.
Yeah.
It's like,
He just said pancakes. Why did she say pancakes? The movie was originally intended to be completely filmed in Iceland. Australia and New Zealand were also considered. However, this picture was ultimately filmed in environmental protected locations in 3 countries, Canada, Kenya, and Scotland. This prehistoric drama was released in 1981, the same year as Caveman, 1981, and Mel Brooks' History of the World, Part 1, which had a caveman comedy section. The French title of this movie is La Guerre de Feu, translates to The War of Fire. The German title is Anfang war das Feuer, translate to At the Beginning Was the Fire. La Guerre de Feu is the novel by J.H. Rosny Sr. and is credited in the edition of Presses de la Cite. Instead of the original literary source, the editor promoted a new edition in 1982 in the wake of the film's success. And the final 2 more morsels. One of my favorites, Iron Maiden, the heavy metal band, wrote a song about this movie using the same title on their Peace of Mind 1983 album. So there's a song called Quest for Fire. Yeah, and I listened to it after I heard that, and I was like,
was it good?
Yeah, it's good.
Right
And yeah, the movie was so successful at the time of its release, both critically and commercially acclaimed, that the studio wanted Jean-Jacques Annaud to return for 2 sequels tentatively titled Quest for Water and Quest for Iron. He declined the offer, thankfully. Cinematography by Claude Agostini.
I would watch
edited
those.
by. I probably would watch Quest for Iron. I don't know about
If they were made-
maybe. There could
No,
be
that's
different tribes.
interesting. No, that's interesting too, because there are times when like the Earth's climate just would have dried up, and all of a sudden that would have been everybody's main objective. You know.
So yeah, cinematography.
Don't worry about Adam; he'll
Claude,
be back.
Okay, Agostini, edited by Yves Langlois, music by Philippe Sardet, release date December 16th, 1981, running time of 100 minutes, budget of $12 million, the box office of $55.2 million.
Oh, we'll have to inform Adam. Budget of $12 million. I mean, not cheap, but not bad either for the day and what they accomplished with it. But like even all those international locations would have been expensive.
Yeah, traveling to the scene. So apparently, each location. So it was like the Ivaka tribe was supposed to be Kenya. The Ulam tribe was supposed to be like Scotland, and like they used Scotland Highlands for the woolly mammoth scene. And Canada was sort of like the Ulam cave tribe bits, and I think some of the
And fighting a bear.
And fighting a bear, yeah, that definitely had to be Canada. Apparently, they used 2 brown bears for that scene.
Yeah, baby and a mother.
Yeah, well, okay, fair enough. I thought 2 adult bears, but no, you're right. 2 a baby and a mother. That
Yeah, it was a baby.
I was
and a
expecting. Okay, yeah, my head went one way. But yeah, I knew when I read the George Buza one, you'd be like thrilled about that one.
Oh wow,
Like,
I am thrilled about that. I'm gonna go back and watch the whole movie just to see George Buza. But all right, so we'll get Adam's thoughts when he gets back. He just had to reboot. He'll be back. Rewatchability. I mean, I think it does. I saw it pieces at least more than once because it was on A&E and stuff all the time back then. I think it was A&E, one of those channels. Yeah, I think it is. I think it does have rewatchability because it's not like it has dialogue you can get bored of or sick of. It doesn't have any.
No,
It's just about following this. Yeah,
it's a movie that's so easily to empathize with the characters because they're not speaking, but you know exactly what they're saying.
basic concerns and basic needs that they're trying to
their
fulfill.
thoughts, their needs, their concerns, what they're trying
You know what
to
it's
get
like
done.
to be cold.
Yeah,
you know what it's like to be hungry. You know what it's like to be lost.
And
all
even
of
through
those
their
things.
gestures and just like general whatever, like the times when like, Ron Perlman's like eating that egg and the other one's like trying to go for it and he like tells him
He's
to
just
piss
like
off.
eating the egg as slowly as you could possibly ever eat an egg. This thing's pinky dips. He's like he's eating Lickamaid.
And Gal wants one too, and then he like tries to reach for one and they break, and like the whole thing is just like physical acting and pantomiming for the most part, and like just like and it tells so much without saying anything at all, and I think it's incredibly impressive. I thoroughly loved this movie, and
I'm surprised.
rewatched
I
it
didn't
many
think you'd
times.
like this movie as much as you did, and I'm glad.
No, I love this movie.
Very
It's the
good.
best one we watched this round, for sure.
Oh my.
Like, yeah.
Maybe. Might be number 2 for me, but we'll see. Does it hold up? I think it certainly does.
Yeah, easily holds
It
up.
certainly does.
Without
I've
question.
seen similar type scientific documentaries and speculative documentaries since then, and this is as good as any of them, if not better, because it does add sort of that cinematic element. Where it's
Yeah,
not
no, like I said,
just
I
trying
feel-
to be the scientific recreation. It's trying to tell a story as well.
Yeah, I feel every human being on Earth should watch. It should be mandatory to watch this film at least once in your life.
So here's where we
Every-
came from.
Yeah, like you should see this. This is.
You think you're
gonna
cold?
Love it. Yeah.
You
I thought
think
about
you've been
that.
pissed off at a camping buddy before? How about that dingus dropping the fire in the water for the second time? You think you've been pissed
Okay,
off before?
you know what?
Like-
All right, here's something. Here's something I'm gonna relate to. You know that ding dong that dropped the bone lantern in the water?
I know that ding dong.
I've been that.
Are you that ding dong?
I've been that ding dong because I was standing middle of the river and I asked my buddy Sean to hand me his camera bag with camera gear.
Oh,
and I
no,
went to like
you
carry it over
fool.
and I did exactly what he did. I slipped and it went in the water and I immediately pulled it out and was just like horrified. I don't think Sean liked me much after that moment.
Fair enough.
Sorry, Sean.
Former friend. Adam, since you were gone, rewatchability. Does this movie have it?
I've done my 20-year watch, and I'm good for another 20. I think it was good. I don't need to see it again. No, I remember it.
Okay. So not high rewatchability.
No.
Okay. The budget was $12 million. You were wondering about the budget.
Okay, look, the problem. I think for me, rewatchability is did it blow
It's a
me
tough
away? Is a story? No, it's not. There's not a lot to it, guys. I mean, yes, it was entertaining, 100%. But I don't need to go back. Okay, and I'm not saying go back in the way of musicals that suck either. I just don't need to see it again for a while. I remember it.
See, I could watch it again with somebody like if they haven't seen it. Clearly I'll remember it. I won't need to watch it for some time. But if I'm like another, like you said, 20 years, I could see myself watching
20
it.
years?
20 years.
Years. Good setup.
Fair enough. Yeah, not bad. All right, the big question on this show: does it hold up? I think it does. I think it holds up to modern viewing. It's better than a lot of these similar documentaries I've seen. And it's not a documentary, of course, and maybe that's why it's a little bit better. But yeah, sure does for me.
Like on that budget, I think it's fantastic. Like, they had that's nothing. Honestly, $12 million.
When you travel to 3 countries,
Yeah,
They
yeah.
boxed the box office. What was it? 55 million. 55.2.
They made
million
their
was the
money
box
back.
Office. Yeah.
Yeah.
that's real good.
So 6
For
or
those
40.
days.
For their
Alright,
efforts.
well.
Also, apparently, Elliot and Perlman both got frostbite while filming that at one point, but they're like, we loved filming that movie.
Because they didn't have fire. What did they think was going to happen?
Well, apparently they're
But
also
also,
going
to
to
your,
like.
to your guys, like when the Super Channel and the Movie Channel and all that stuff was coming out in the late 80s, like this was one of those pictures that was put on there a lot. And then when the video stores came out, same time era, that was one of the ones that you go see because of the, for the
Radon Chong.
Radon Chong. But it's just like, I mean, what they didn't make at box office, they certainly made in rentals later on, and streaming, whatever you call streaming back then. But anyway.
Well, just the syndication, sending it out to whoever wants to buy it.
Yeah.
So is that a hold up from all three of us? Holds up?
Oh, totally holds up.
All right.
I like watching movies today that didn't require CGI and still look really good. Now
that's why they look good. CGI for me almost never looks good, and it takes me out of the movie.
Yeah, the only scene that I didn't find, or I found less believable, was the mastodons.
They look
obviously, because you could even see when like its trunk's moving, like it's got like a flap of like furry skin that moves opposite of like the trunk. It's not very.
But as far as the makeup on the actors, and it was great, and the fighting was great, and it was all good.
All right, very good. Let's move on to theater 2, shall we?